Good evening, everybody, and welcome to a very special edition of The King's Castle. I'm King James. I'll be your host for the next hour of entertainment news and wrestling news and whatever else you want to know. And back once again to help me is my colleague, the always reliable and rarely shy Blair Chopin. Good evening, Blair.
Thank you. Good evening, James.
Now,
this is an emergency bulletin.
Exactly. This is our first ever King's Castle emergency bulletin show.
I would like to thank Sprite for making this possible.
Because we have some big storylines to cover and not a lot of time to do it.
Yes, sir.
We gotta start off by talking about what took place this past Tuesday night on SmackDown to determine the number one contender for the WWE Championship. They decided to hold what's known as a six-pack challenge.
Ooh, I've had many of those in my life.
We saw 6 SmackDown superstars all go at it at the same time, and the winner by pinfall or submission would face Dean Ambrose at SummerSlam. And I can now reveal that the number one contender for the WWE World title is the show-off Dolph Ziggler.
Oh, come on.
I know.
Dolph Ziggler's not a number one contender.
I'm as surprised as you are, Blair.
Yeah, what does he do?
He steals the show, or so he says.
Does he really, though?
Well, he ain't stealing this show, that's for sure.
He seems like a very weak link to have as the number one contender.
Well,
seems like a quick ascent.
I was gonna ask you about that.
He wasn't even a mid-card guy before.
I was gonna ask you about that because in this same match, we had people like Bray Wyatt, John Cena, AJ Styles, the young upstart Apollo Crews, just to name a few. So, if you're not happy with Ziggler winning, who do you think should have won?
I don't know, but I guess Bray Wyatt, I think, has the most potential out of those. But I think it's kind of a stretch for me for Dolph Ziggler because he's a guy who wasn't even mid-card before, really early card, first 1 or 2 matches, and now he's a number one contender.
I know.
It's kind of. I wonder what the reasoning they have behind pushing him is.
Well,
I know the fans kind of like him, I guess.
Well, he is a fan favorite, but he has been a former 2-time world champion, so I can see why they want to put him back in the
know, but he was his run is kind of over, his ascent.
Yeah.
They kind of gave up on his ascent, kind of like the Miz, right? They were pushing him for a while, and now he's settled into a role. I just thought Ziggler had settled into a role, so I'm curious as to why you think they're pushing him.
Well, like I said, he has been a champion before, but his reigns have kind of been considered jokes because one night he cashed in the Money in the Bank after WrestleMania 3 years ago, and that reign lasted 2 months, but then his previous reign in 2011, he won and lost the title in the same night on SmackDown. So I really think he's trying to win the fans over, and I really think Shane is about giving opportunity. So I can see why Shane wanted to do this, but as far as I'm concerned, this is a bad move.
Well, couldn't you argue that he already had his opportunity if he's held the title before and it didn't resonate with the fans and they didn't see him in that superstar role?
Exactly. Because I'll tell you one thing: if it were me, I would have probably put somebody like AJ Styles in the match.
Yeah, it makes more sense.
Because AJ, like we've said before many times on this show, has proven that he can be a main event guy.
So you're going to have Ziggler's going to be in the main event.
Right. For SummerSlam, for SmackDown.
Whew. He's a weak guy. I mean, I just think he's a weak guy to have in the main event. And especially your first big event as SmackDown.
Right.
Because I think
Raw's
going to... You would think Raw would have a better number one contender than Ziggler, right? As far as name...
Exactly. We talked about that last time, giving Finn Balor the number one contendership against Seth Rollins for the Universal title.
To me,
for their side.
To me, Finn Balor's the bigger name right now than Dolph Ziggler.
Absolutely.
I get more excited for Finn Balor.
Absolutely, because he's a young upstart. He has a long way to go, but he's proven that he can handle pressure very, very early on.
It's like, who would you rather see live? the Rolling Stones are like the Kings of Leon? I'm not sure.
Well,
A band who's like had like a reputation before. No, I can't compare Dolph Ziggler to the Rolling Stones. We'll cut that out. That was terrible.
well,
My first bad analogy. I compared.
don't
I
worry.
compared the Undertaker to Chris Winkie last show, and all the fans wrote in, and they were very happy.
Don't worry. I've had my fair share of bad analogies on the show.
So I got a question for you. You said this match to determine the number one contender was a six pack, right?
Yeah, 6-pack challenge.
If you could pick any six wrestlers from any time, and all these wrestlers would be in their prime, and they would be in your dream 6-way match, who would you have in there?
Okay, it would probably have to be John Cena,
Ooh, Cena.
Shawn Michaels. Let me see. Triple H, Ric Flair, Booker T.
Booker T. All right,
No, it's Booker, not Booger.
Booker T.
And maybe, let's see, Goldberg.
Goldberg. Okay,
Yeah.
nice. I like that. So did you leave out The Rock?
Well,
The Rock and Stone Cold, huh?
yeah,
Tough omission.
because I didn't really get a chance to see them compete in their prime during their time. I've only seen each of them compete a handful of times, so that's why I've seen them compete, but they didn't really grow on me as characters because I only saw them for a short time.
Right. Who do you think would win of the 6 wrestlers you mentioned? Who do you think would win?
Probably Triple H.
Yeah.
Because he considered the reason
He
JR
has creative control.
the reason JR gave him the nickname the Cerebral Assassin is because I think he considers every one of his matches to be something of a physical chess match. He has to work his way around to get through everything, and he has to study his opponent. And I think he can do that from a mental standpoint better than anybody. So if that were to be an actual match, Triple H would have it in the bag.
I'm surprised you didn't get more of a hardcore element in there. You didn't get Foley in there. And anyway,
Well, Foley's insane. He'd probably screw them.
yeah. Plus, it couldn't be too. If this was wrestled in 2016 and all these guys are in their prime, they couldn't do that many hardcore stuff. No headshots with chairs or anything.
Well,
But that's an interesting lineup. I think that's a good question. We should ask our fans who would be in if you guys.
Well,
could make
hold on. If you want to pose that question to the fans, you got to give them your answer too.
Well, Eugene's definitely in mine. You got to put Eugene in there.
What?
He's a great wrestler. He's a man of the people. Then you put Val Venus in there.
Hello, ladies.
Val Venus is coming on to Eugene. Using Eugene. Eugene doesn't know what to do. Then you put Rikishi because he's going to put his butt in Eugene's face and then he's going to get more confused. And then let's see who else. Who is that really short guy? The kind of little person they had on the roster.
Hornswoggle.
Hornswoggle's involved. And then
The leprechaun.
and then Mark Henry's in there because he's sexual chocolate. and then let's see. Oh my gosh. Who is the really old lady that occasionally stripped?
Well, she's now that was Mae Young.
Mae Young. She comes back from the dead for the match too. So we had Eugene, Rikishi, Val Venus, Mae Young, Hornswoggle, and Mark Henry. So that is quite the match. I think that'd be my all-time comedy match.
But yeah, we're gonna make that our viewer poll question.
Question of the show.
Tell us in the comments what would be your dream match for a 6-pack challenge. Whether championships are not really a factor, just any 6 wrestlers you want to see go at it all at the same time. So let us know in the comments. I'm sure this will get a lot of interesting
Also,
responses.
what would the viewers' dream 6-pack to drink be? Like, if they could drink a 6-pack of anything, what would it be? James, you got to answer this one.
Well, I gotta go with my favorite of all time, Diet Coke.
Diet Coke. You could drink a 6-pack of anything and you drink Diet Coke.
Yeah.
That is quite the plug for Diet Coke. If Diet Coke will like to sponsor the show, I think they should be able to.
Yes. Please, if you're out there and you work for the Coca-Cola company, please sponsor us.
We've always said positive things about Coke. You know what's terrible though? Diet Pepsi.
Why?
It tastes so much worse than Diet Coke. You don't think?
Yeah.
But we love. If Pepsi wants to sponsor us, they're great too. They had Britney Spears as their spokeswoman for a while, didn't they? Until she went bald.
Yeah. Now it's Pepsi for those who like bald.
Yeah.
We're gonna take a break and be back for more news right after this.
That was a fun segment.